But I want to tell you about a Melbourne-based musician called Mijo Biscan who released his debut album Golden Moments in early 2020 after peppering the airwaves with some singles in 2019. Now he's launching a book to accompany the album which dedicates a chapter to each of the 11 songs, giving them context and a reference for the lyrics for each track. And I'm really fascinated by that approach, and I'm going to be chatting with Mijo about it right after we hear a song from the album. So we're going to hear from Golden Moments, this is We've Got the Numbers. Mijo Biscan there. We've got the numbers and I'm joined by Mijo on the phone. How are you going?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. So
Excellent.
We've been talking about this this book that you've just released that accompanies the Golden Moments album, and I just want to start by asking the obvious question: why did you decide to write this book?
That is a very good question, and it's not an obvious answer because I didn't really plan to ever write a book, or didn't even think it was something I could do, essentially. So the album came out, and then this small pandemic thing hit. I don't know if you've heard about this thing that happened.
Oh, yeah. We've had some time.
Yeah. And so I was planning to do the usual things of tour the album around Australia, had some European tours being set up, and that all sort of changed immediately. And so I started to sort of think about other ways of engaging people in the music and sort of creating actually a deeper connection with fans that I wasn't getting to do by touring. And so I thought maybe one way of doing that is to sort of explore each one of the songs and, the philosophical underpinnings of the song, or just the experience of writing it, and then putting that together and putting it out. And a bit of a personal challenge as well, just to see if I could do it.
I find it really interesting that you've put so much of yourself out there, I guess, in some ways, because a lot of artists kind of like to have people interpret their lyrics in their own ways and attach their own meanings to the songs in various phrases and that kind of thing. But you've been quite explicit about your motivations for writing each track and what they're about and what was happening for you when you wrote them. It's a lot of information to share. How do you feel about laying all that out there?
Well, yeah, honestly, it was pretty confronting and a little bit vulnerable to do it. Once I'd had the book written, I was like, okay, cool. So because with a song, in a sense, you can kind of hide behind metaphors and abstract lyrics and things like that. But when you go to write it out, it has to be explicit because otherwise it's not understood. So yeah, when I went to actually release it, I was like, okay, I've really got to share quite a bit of myself and also pin down exactly what I believe about certain things about the world. And that can also be a bit confronting when you say, hey, this is the thing I actually believe about how the world works, because then people can come back and challenge that. But I also feel okay about that it's okay to have dialogue and have ideas challenged. But yeah, it's been challenging to do it, but ultimately rewarding because I have to kind of stand behind the music and the themes and the ideas that I share. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine it might have given you a moment of pause, but it's exciting to have it out.
Actually the editor that I worked with, she pushed me in this direction with a couple of the songs, especially kind of the romantic songs or the love songs, where I've had to share kind of the backstory there. I was kind of being a bit wishy-washy and trying to sneak around corners, and she was saying, hey, I think if you really come out and directly share really what happened there, that you give people an opportunity to really connect with what's happening. And so I was reluctant, but then once I did it, I actually kind of leaned into it. I thought, yeah, this actually feels good, and it feels right to be quite transparent. It's quite liberating, actually. But, yeah.
I really think there's something to be said for just saying what you need to say, I really like short songs for that reason, a lot of the time as well.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in the book makes a number of references to a silence retreat that you did, which seems to have had a fairly significant impact on your work, and it's left you with a lot to say, really. I wondered if that was a really pivotal experience in your life, because it seems to come up a few times through the book.
Yeah, that was definitely a pretty huge pivotal moment of my life at that time, which maybe I don't go fully into it in the book, actually, but my life was kind of falling apart in many different ways. I was deciding on whether I wanted to quit this job, and I'd been with a long-term partner, and my band that I was in, Lamplight, we were doing pretty well, and I had to go off and think about all these things. And so I did this 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat, and a lot of things became quite clear to me, certain patterns and ways of thinking that really weren't helpful. And it really charted me on a new course. From then on is when I sort of decided I'm going full-time doing music. I'm moving to Berlin. I'm going to start touring more. I'm going to do more solo stuff. And so, yeah, it was a pretty deep experience, and I've returned to it a number of times. And each time I just get so much from the process. And, yeah, it's essentially 10 days of not talking, and then it does leave me with a lot to say once I come out.
Yeah, I was really getting that vibe in some of the references to that silence retreat that are in the book. And then also, I really liked in that chapter that you've written about the song that we were listening to just there, We've Got the Numbers. You talk about encouraging people to know themselves and be themselves. And I kind of wondered if you feel like the album and the book follows your journey into, I don't know, self-enlightenment, if that's the right expression. I'm not sure what it is, but it certainly feels like there's a journey going on there through the album and through the writings that you've made about it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's actually something that came more obvious to me actually when I was in the process of writing. It made me consciously reflect on the music, which often I don't do very much. I write the music and then maybe a few years later I figure out like, oh, that's what I was sort of going through at that time. So writing the book, there's a lot of themes around self-actualization or growth or whatever it might be, transformation and stuff like that. And that's a huge part of really what I think about and what I focus on a lot, since that meditation retreat was sort of one of the first instances where I realized, the way that I think really affects how I behave, and then that reflects my reality in my life. And so, these themes of knowing yourself, this two-step thing of first know yourself, and then you can go through the process of acting that but expressing that in the world. And I feel like if we were doing that a little bit more, each individual was doing that more, we'd live in quite a different world.
I'm very interested to talk a little bit more with you about that, but I want to listen to another one of your tracks. Do you have time to hang around for a few minutes?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, we're going to hear another track from the record now from Golden Moment. This is Mijo Biscan with You've Got Your Life. We'll be back to chat a little bit more in a minute.
But if he dies
Mijo Biscan there. You've Got Your Life, taken from the Golden Moment record, and I'm joined by Mijo on the phone just now. Mijo, that has to be the cheeriest song, well, one of the cheeriest songs about death that I've ever heard, although I think Flaming Lips, Do You Realise, has got to be right up there. It comes close, similar themes about embracing life. And, in that song you're questioning about you've got your life, what are you going to do with it? You were talking just before about, it being challenging that you've put out the book around golden moments, but I was listening to that song and it made me think, is that really a challenge to the listeners of that track as well?
Yeah, it sort of is. That's one thing in my music. I don't tend to point it towards the audience very, very often, or maybe at all. But in that song, it really does kind of bring up the question that I was thinking about. A close friend of mine passed away, and I went home and I wrote that song, and that was the question I was asking myself: is this friend's gone, but you're still here. You've got your life. What are you going to do with it? And then in the song, the last part of it really is sort of asking the listener, hey, this thing's awesome and it's precious, but it's not going to go on forever. So maybe we need to think about what we're doing and sort of living into that, alignment of who we really are. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge to the listener, I suppose.
I feel like it's a way to spark an existential crisis in the middle of a pandemic right there.
Yeah, exactly.
While we got time, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, while you're just twiddling your thumbs, how about you just muse on this and maybe freak yourself out some more?
Hey, you ran a Possible campaign to help record the album. Did you do the same for the book?
No, I didn't do the same for the book. What I decided to do with the book was something similar but not quite the same, which is basically to do a pre-order of the book. Mm-hmm. And so as part of that, people get a couple of there's a few different packages and a few extra things that they get as part of the pre-order that they won't get once the pre-order is over. So I sort of took a slightly different approach, but
Where can people get the book now that it's out and about?
So people can just get it from my website. So it's mijobiscan.com. So it's spelled MIJOBISCAN. But from my website, that's where the pre-order is all happening.
All right, I'm going to put some links up to on the PBS website as well, because we all post our playlists and stuff up there. So I'll put some links through to your site if people want to find it. I wanted to take you, I want you to take us to Iceland, really, and tell us about how you found yourself in an isolated cabin writing O Raven, the opening track for this record. What led you there?
Well, initially, I was travelling through Europe with my band, my old band Lamplight, and we were on tour, actually with Gautier, who you were playing earlier. It was nice to hear that track. And as part of that, a friend of mine who's a musician in Melbourne told me about this Icelandic singer-songwriter, and he said, you should go visit him. He's amazing. And so I went there and we played some shows. And then he said, my family has this cabin in the north of Iceland. And I was like, do you reckon if I came back, I could go and stay there for a month on my own, write songs? And he was like, yeah. He's this really amazing dude. And so that's what I did. I came back to Melbourne after that tour and then went back to Iceland, went to this cabin in the far north of Iceland on my own, no internet, no TV, no phone, none of that stuff, and really actually focused on the meditation stuff that we talked about earlier and writing songs. And that's really all I did was journaling, writing songs, singing, going for walks in nature. And it was really a kind of self-created artist retreat, I suppose. And it was very pivotal in the way that I started writing songs rather than sitting down and trying to force songs out. I would just sit there and sort of gaze out the window and wait for songs to arrive. And that's sort of how this song, O Raven, came together.
All right, we're going to have a listen to it now. Mijo, thank you so much for calling in and talking to us about the book and the album Golden Moment. They're now a happy set.
Yeah, nice companion.
Yeah, We're going to hear that track that we're talking about just now, Oh Raven. This is Mijo Biscan.
Thanks, Claire.
Up there